What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Jamie to my Tyrion, Lester Jones.
I'm definitely the Tyrion.
No, because Jamie's the sister fucker, and that's not me. And rounding out the panel, we got the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, dropping fitties and grabbing titties, the nip flicking, deep dicking, swimming in boobies like Scrooge McDuck and rubies, the phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Please let me know where these 50s are that I dropped so I can pick them up.
They're at the weed store.
They're gone then. I smoked them.
All right, guys, before we get into all of our shenanigans today, you guys got any, good stories from the week or any good recommendations?
Yeah, I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm liking it.
Still going with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
We started watching the new season of Big Mouth. Pretty good.
Yeah, I got to get into that.
Yeah, a couple episodes into that. I did finally finish The Boys Season 2, which is good. Hey, let me ask you something, because you just, I watched Season 1 last, whenever it came out, and then I watched Season 2, whereas you watched Season 1 and 2 basically back to back, right?
Pretty close, but if you're... my memory is going to be shaky, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, there was something I noticed during Season 1 that I didn't notice as much in Season 2, and I don't know if you noticed this, but there's several episodes in Season 1 where, you notice, this digital fly, flying around, and I'm like, oh, they're going to pay that off somehow, there's going to be a superhero that can use flies to, spy on people or something like that. But then I don't remember that fly really coming into play in Season 2. So I was wondering, did you notice that?
I didn't notice, but maybe if it was playing up like it's going to be something, maybe they just changed their mind.
Well, if it does end up being something, I caught it.
Good job.
So I get credit. All right, well, let's get into things. As tradition dictates, AJ, we'll start with you.
All right. Former Israeli space security chief says aliens exist and humanity not ready. This galactic federation has supposedly been in contact with Israel and the U.S. for years, but are keeping themselves a secret to prevent hysteria until humanity is ready. Has the state of Israel made contact with aliens? According to retired Israeli general and current professor Haim Eshed, the answer is yes, but this has been kept a secret because humanity isn't ready. Speaking in an interview to Yediot Aharonot, Eshed, who served as the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years and is a three-time recipient of the Israel Security Award, explained that Israel and the U.S. have been dealing with aliens for years, and this by no means refers to immigrants, with Eshed clarifying that the existence of a galactic clarifying the existence of a galactic federation. The 87-year-old former space security chief gave further descriptions about exactly what sort of agreements have been made between the aliens and the U.S., which ostensibly have been made because they wish to research and understand the fabric of the universe. This cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives. If true, this would coincide with U.S. President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as the fifth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, though it is unclear how long this sort of relationship, if any, has been going on between the U.S. and its reported extraterrestrial allies. But Eshed insists that Trump is aware of them and that he was on the verge of disclosing their existence. However, the Galactic Federation reportedly stopped him from doing so, saying they wished to prevent mass hysteria since they felt humanity needed to evolve and reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are, Yediot Aharonot reported. As for why he's chosen to reveal this information now, Eshed explained that the timing was simply due to how much the academic landscape has changed and how respected he is in academia. If I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. He explained to Yediot. He added that today they're really talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I am respected in universities abroad, where the trend is also changing. Esched provided more information in his newest book, The Universe Beyond the Horizon, Conversations with Professor Haim Esched, along with other details such as how aliens have prevented nuclear apocalypses and when we jump in and visit the men in black. Or when we can jump in and visit the Men in Black. The book is available now for NIS 98. While it is unclear if any evidence exists that could support Esched's claims, they did come just ahead of a recent announcement by SpaceIL, the group behind Israel's failed attempt to land a spacecraft on the moon in 2019. Uploaded to social media with the text ready to get excited again, the announcement contained a 15-second video of the moon with text saying back to the moon, followed by the date of December 9, 2020. It is likely that this is a follow-up to the Bereshit spacecraft, which crashed after engineers lost contact with it just minutes before it was due to land. However, the follow-up project, titled Bereshit 2, is expected to take 3 years to be ready, but sadly we may never know the truth. The Jerusalem Post was unable to reach out to this supposed Galactic Federation for comment.
Yeah, as much as I would love this to be true, I call bullshit on all of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he sounds like an idiot.
He seems like a guy
with power.
He seems like a guy that's probably just trying to sell a book or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't buy any of it.
And one guy on Twitter said, if Trump knew anything about aliens, he would have told everybody over and over again by now. We would have all heard about it.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be hard to keep under wraps, but then like anyone who does say anything, you're like, they're crazy as shit. So.
I mean, the fact that this guy has a book out right now and he's coming out with this information, it kind of lines up.
Joe Rogan did a podcast with a guy named Bob Lazar.
Yeah, I've heard of Bob Lazar.
Who I guess, worked for the military. And he claims that they had, for years, have had this, aircraft. And basically the way it works is, it can basically create gravity and make gravity go in any direction they want and propel, a ship that way. And but I listen to that podcast and I'm like, this guy seems off too. I don't trust him at all,
Yeah, I don't remember too much about it.
What was his role, Bob Lazar?
I forget.
Well, he was like an
DOD?
engineer in Area 51 or something.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
they claimed that they found a spaceship, like archaeologically, like they found one somewhere.
Oh. There was also that DOD guy who said that UFOs are real. So, a few people came out. Still don't believe it.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, but well, this is a pretty big jump in the segue. I didn't even bring this in my story, but in archaeology, apparently, like somewhere like in the remote rainforest, I believe in South America, they found there's like a cliff, and it's just like 5 or 6 miles of pictograph paintings. And they found like extinct species, like people had put on there and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like giant armadillo or something, like different stuff you would have found in that time period. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That was just kind of a side note, but
yeah, that's interesting. So they had pictures of animals that weren't alive in that time period.
well, they were alive when the drawings were made, but they're extinct now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of the mega flora and fauna stuff, I guess.
Oh, so this was like a long time ago.
Right, I think if I remember right, it was maybe 30,000 years old, but because it's like in the rainforest, it's a new discovery. So they haven't released location or anything, but they had some of the pictures and stuff, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, 5 or 6 miles of that.
Yeah, they said it's just a huge thing, which is crazy that you wouldn't be thinking, that we've pretty much discovered everything, and somebody finds some shit like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, every once in a while they do make a discovery of something, interesting like that.
But yeah, something like 5 or 6 miles, huge.
Yeah.
So, be interesting.
I hope they do more research on that.
All right,
Sure they will.
should we move to your first topic?
Yeah, so I got one. We were talking about space a little bit, so I thought I might as well bring this one out. Jeff Bezos announced that Blue Origin will be taking the first woman to the moon. In a related story, Bezos announced that he will also be building the world's first kitchen on the moon.
Terrible.
I knew there was some sort of punchline coming.
Well, I wanted to get our haters into the comment section quickly.
For some reason, I thought it was going to have to do with like
Like it had to be sexist. Right?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. was that it? Just that joke, or
That was it.
Jeez. I think we should make some ground rules that you have to have a joke and a topic.
Well, that is a topic.
Yeah, okay.
You could talk about that if you want. I just
All right. So for my first topic, so like, this year with COVID and everything, like movie theaters, they've been like postponing, theatrical movies.
Right, isn't there going to be a huge release coming up on HBO?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, like they've been pushing back movies, and like earlier in the year, some of them went to VOD, and I know like with Mulan, Disney did this thing where like subscribers to Disney could pay an extra $30 and watch Mulan, which I thought seemed
That's pretty steep, yeah.
pretty steep, but apparently some people did it. But yeah,
Free.
HBO they finally broke down and like a couple weeks ago announced that Wonder Woman 84 would be coming to HBO Max on Christmas Day. Well, now they've announced that they're going to go ahead and put their whole 2021 movie slate on HBO Max. So basically, where theaters are open, the movie will be released theatrically, but it'll be on the same day released on HBO Max. And, I there's this guy I watch on YouTube sometimes. It's kind of like a guy that's, knows a lot about the movie industry. And, HBO, when they announced this, they said this is just like a special 2021 thing, and then and this guy's like, no, that's bullshit. Like they've been wanting to, move to this kind of thing for a long time. And he's like, this probably is something that would have happened inevitably, but probably over about a 10-year stretch. But he figures COVID kind of gave him the option of doing it earlier. And so like, he's thinking that this is just going to be the new norm, and he's like, theaters will probably always remain, an option because there are, people that do want to go to the theater still, but it'll just become more of a niche thing. And, it got me thinking, like, what do you guys think of this? Because I do enjoy going to the movies, every now and then.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Definitely at certain movies, I can imagine me doing this. The only thing is, and they were very smart about this, is, I'm one of those people that, as I've mentioned on the other shows, is like, I kind of like to, for the things I don't have a constant subscription to, I like to, have some things build up on there that I want to watch.
Yeah.
Then I'll subscribe for like a month or two, just binge everything on there I want to watch, and then cut it. Well, these movies, they're only going to be available for 30 days, and then they're going to take them back off. To entice people not to do that. And so it's like, So when if you don't catch it like in the window, when's your next opportunity to see it, or you have to go to the theater? So like Wonder Woman, for example, is going to open or be on HBO on Christmas. And then I imagine it'll go until like, January 25th. And then it'll move to, they'll have a window like they normally do where it'll then go to rentals and on video or whatever. And then I imagine after a certain length of time,
It'll be like
it'll come back to HBO Max. But, a year down the road, maybe, I don't know.
I see. So they got to hook you in every month. Yeah.
And the same guy I was watching, apparently like Disney was already set to make some announcements. I think like this week. And he didn't know this for sure, but he's thinking, Disney may very well do the same thing. Go, 2021, we're just going to do everything on Disney Plus the same way.
Well, I mean, if you've got a backlog of materials of what you've already made, then maybe at some point you're just like, fuck it, let's test it.
But I always I thought this would be, ultimately something, not having it in theaters would be, less revenue. But he's like, that's not necessarily the case. And the other thing is like, this way they're getting a constant revenue stream.
Yeah.
So like, if they make a movie that maybe would have been a clunker, in the theaters, it doesn't affect them quite as much, So it is interesting. What do you guys think this will do to theater ticket prices? Do you think, since there's like, essentially in a way more competition, do you think it'll make theater tickets go down? Or do you think they'll go, oh, it's more of a boutique thing and you're going to pay more? I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, if you're coming up against competition, that usually drives down prices because you can't just go up. So
they'll just have that $90 bucket of popcorn.
Yeah, and hope you buy it.
Yeah,
I got my popcorn pants on. Just like a trash bag full of popcorn.
I wonder too, do you think this will affect things like, let's say the industry just goes this way, full bore. Do you think this will affect like film criticism and Rotten Tomatoes? Because I mean, people will always want to talk about film because it's fun to do. But like, the reason critics sprang up in the first place is like, because there's like, there's a barrier of entry going to the theater. Like there's this extra cost. And like now with a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to have constant subscriptions to these platforms. So it's really just like, is it worth my time? Rather, is it worth my money? And do you think people will
maybe
spend as much time like reading film reviews and things like that? Or
I still check Rotten Tomatoes. Like I still go and I Google, what's good on Netflix, because they're sorting and their ratings.
Yeah.
I really hate that they got rid of their rating system. That used to make things much easier for me. But yeah, I'll Google like what's good, and I'll go research before I just watch some garbage.
Yeah, I usually do that too. If I'm on the fence about a movie, I'll look it up.
Well, and the other, this will change for Netflix eventually, but like the advantage that HBO and Disney have is they don't have to pay any licensing fees really, because all the stuff they're showing on their platforms is shit that they own. Whereas Netflix, like everything on their platform that isn't a Netflix original, they have to pay big bucks for in licensing fees. And so that's why Netflix over the last few years is trying to make more original content.
Well, I think original content was obviously a good idea because they're doing a lot of it, but does HBO have Marvel?
No, HBO has Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Disney has Marvel.
owns Marvel.
Oh, I was thinking DC because they have Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, DC, Warner Brothers, HBO, all under the same umbrella.
Oh, okay.
One big conglomerate, along with AT&T.
I need to start a company and start bundling these together and selling people cable.
Did you want a home phone service and Wonder Woman?
Yeah. Do you want Disney and HBO with that?
Well, I imagine AT&T will try to, they probably have already to a certain degree. I'm sure they'll try to integrate packages like that.
Yeah.
If you pay for AT&T phone service, you'll get a discount on HBO Max subscription,
It does kind of suck because I do like the strategy you're talking about where you just like subscribe for a month.
I do too.
And then you're like, I'm done with HBO. I'll go watch Netflix for a while.
Although, I might be able to do it to an extent, like depending on what movies come out when, like maybe there'll be a several month dry spell where there would be nothing that I would want to watch or something like that.
Then you have to get into like, you need an algorithm to figure this out. It's like, I need 2 months of this here, a month of this here. I don't want to miss this.
But the other thing is like, if there was a window where just one movie was coming out that I'd want to see, I could potentially go see that in a theater because that would be less, than an HBO Max subscription. So
there are certain like blockbusters, like the big ones, I'd still like to see in a theater.
Yeah, I'm thinking that like, when the next Batman movie comes out or whatever, I'd probably want to watch that in a theater. So there are certainly movies I would still want the theatrical experience with, but there's also others like that I could definitely just go with watching at home. So It's definitely a big change, to the film industry, though. All right, AJ, we'll move it back to you.
Let's see what we got here. Okay. Bodybuilder takes the plunge with sex doll after whirlwind romance.
I saw this one.
I saw like
I didn't bother to read it.
I saw this thing on Twitter, and then like I went into my article thing to try to find that particular article, and I couldn't find it, so I'm like, oh, I gave up on it.
A bodybuilder and self-proclaimed sexy maniac from Kazakhstan has tied the knot with a synthetic sex doll in a stunning ceremony celebrating the couple's 18-month relationship. Yuri Tolochko married his sex doll fiancée Margot after months of delays caused by the pandemic in a conventional wedding ceremony capped off by the romantic first dance.
Now, if you're a sex maniac and you've had this thing for 18 months, is it full? You might want to trade that in before you tie the knot.
Like, you're the only one touching that thing. Nobody else is going there.
The rest of the village like avoids the smell of your house.
When that sex doll catches him cheating on the new sex doll, that's who's going to be like his thing. Well, she's not full of cum.
I'm half of you. Let's see. Bedecked in a smart black dinner suit and bow tie, the groom is in all smiles in his wedding video, which was posted on Instagram today as he dances with his stunning bride in her lacy white gown. Sharing footage of this unusual celebration on Instagram, the bearded actor wrote, "This happened, to be continued." In the social media video shared on Instagram to more than 140,000 followers across their two accounts, Tolochko slips a ring onto Margot's finger before the couple shares a tender kiss in front of a crowd of delighted wedding guests. Last May, Yuri announced his intentions to marry Margot, claiming the couple was ready to take its relationship to the next stage.
Sex?
Reports say the couple has been together for 18 months. Tolochko treats the sex doll like a real-life woman. Margot also has a fiery personality, he says. She swears, but there's a tender soul inside. Margot shares details of their raunchy relationship on her Instagram page, including plans for their big day. Other pictures on the page showcase her romantic lifestyle, with the pair enjoying sunny holidays together, cozy lie-ins, and bubble baths. Her captions have hashtags including ideal relationship, true love, and happy wife, happy life. Tolochko claims to have first met Margot at a nightclub where he rescued her from some unwanted attention. The bodybuilder identifies as a pansexual and can fall in love with a character, an image, a soul, just a person. As he explained, "I like the process of sex itself, and gender, sexual orientation are not particularly important here."
Well,
I mean,
whatever works for you.
He could get with a lot of people, though. He doesn't need a sex doll, but
I'm going to do the same thing just to save money on taxes, but I'm cheap, so I'm just going to duct tape an Alexa to a fleshlight and call it good.
Alexa, shut the fuck up. Would you like to buy blah 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 for $2.99?
How do you think like women feel about this? Like, they're like, oh, there's this really hot guy, but he fucks a doll instead.
yeah, they came off the market.
You can't beat sex doll.
It's like, can you imagine if you hit on a woman and she's like, oh, I'm taken, and then she goes home. It's like a fucking
some overall stuffed with horsehair.
That might be our future, guys. Like, technology is taking us in a direction where we're banging robots, maybe. If we had robots for spouses, that might be better than a woman. Like I'm not saying robots are better than women, but I'm saying like.
It sounds like that's what you're saying.
I'm saying for me personally, I'd be okay with
It's like
that.
Technologically, we're not there yet, but someday.
I would be okay with that. There'd be less friction. It'd be easier to get along because it does everything you do. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in that future where there's sex robots, I think men and women both are gonna just have sex or robot partners.
And there's things a sex robot will do that no woman would ever do. Like you could just shit in a dustpan and be like, take that.
Yeah, there's gonna be some. That's when the robots are gonna rise up.
Yeah.
Against him.
He's shit in a dustpan. Okay, that's it. D-Day.
You do got to watch out for electrogonorrhea, the noisy killer.
So this is one I tried to fact check and couldn't find that it was false. So
So we'll assume it's true.
we'll just assume it's true. A San Francisco homeless man who was arrested and later hospitalized was pronounced dead this week after contracting rabies, reports the Frisco Chronicler. Now, what it doesn't say is that, well, what it does say later on is he got rabies from blowing a dog.
Oh.
The suspect allegedly inserted the dog's penis into his mouth and started to perform oral sex on the animal in a public area.
In public?
There was one funny quote in here.
I was just applying lipstick.
The man had on no pants on, and the dog was licking his genitals. Then he grabbed the dog's penis and shoved it into his mouth. It is an image I will be stuck with for the rest of my life.
Oh, man.
That's what's going on down in San Fran.
If the dog was helping him out, it's only fair.
Like, what kind of stories are these, man?
I mean,
In a civilized world, he would just die by himself.
I mean, I know there have been like, instances of guys fucking dogs. I never heard of one getting rabies from blowing a dog. But,
Yeah.
but
He
yeah,
blew a
it's
rabbit dog. He was like, all right, there's only one way out of this situation.
That's a spicy relationship.
And you know that's going to create some sort of new STD as well.
Right, that's where things come
That's
from.
where dog AIDS comes from.
Now China's going to throw that against us. Stop blowing dogs. We'll be fine.
And you're like, God damn it.
You stop eating bats and we'll stop blowing dogs.
It's like, I don't want to have this argument anymore.
Both are reluctant to sign.
All right.
That's what I'm scared of seeing on my job. Just come around the corner, some dude's blowing a dog.
So my next topic is nudity, but specifically like the way different countries treat nudity.
Okay.
Because like in the United States, like for kids, like we're very like safeguarded from seeing nudity. Like I mean, I imagine today because of the internet, kids are seeing nude bodies much, much earlier. But like society does like try to stop kids from seeing nude bodies. And like I'm not even talking in a sexual way. Like I'm just talking about like when you're a kid, like you have really no idea what the opposite sex looks like. And like I don't even remember like the first time I saw like a nude woman, probably like on some, movie we rented or something. But like it almost
Maybe
feels
awkwardly watching with her parents.
yeah. But you almost feel guilty about it when you first see it because you almost feel like you're committing some sort of crime. But then on the other hand, I know there's like European countries and stuff where like they're very open with nudity and like they'll have like commercials with people nude on it. And so like over there, like little boys from a very young age, they know what breasts look like, and like little girls, they know what a dick and balls look like, but in a total like non-sexual manner.
Cares.
And my question for you guys is like, do you think like we do it better than those countries? Do you think they have the right idea and we have the wrong idea, or do you think it's kind of up in the air type of question?
I feel that it's arbitrary. Like, I feel like a lot of morals are pretty much arbitrary. And I mean, kids whose like families are nudish or something, it's like they don't come out of it scarred. Usually they're just like, it's just like a normal thing. They don't really care.
Yeah, I don't. It's like one of those things. I don't know what the better option is, but like I was saying, like the first time seeing a nude woman on a movie or whatever, and it feeling like like I said, like real guilty and crap. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem healthy. Like thinking back on it, like
I mean, I'm sure like the first time I saw boobs in a movie is like, you got this awkward erection. Like, that's all you can think about. Your parents are sitting there, they're like trying to be quiet. You're like,
I don't know. America is kind of like a middle ground for sexuality. Like, there is hypersexuality when you get older, though. But I think when you look at Germany and Europe, like, they're pretty open and liberal with sexuality. But then you look at the Middle Eastern people who are coming there now, and they're having difficulty, like, controlling their sexuality. Like, there have been a lot of rapes and stuff like that. And it's because they're not used to seeing, like, women dressed this way. And I don't know. I just think that however you're raised, like in America, that place should definitely have something in place for you to like adjust to society and be okay with the sexuality and not be so aggressive.
I mean, if you think back to like a certain time where like everybody, like your family lives in like a one-room building, like parents or like kids see their parents having sex and stuff. And it's like
That's scarring.
I mean, the thing is, like, I don't think it like matters that much where in those societies.
I think to a degree those European countries probably have it right where like because I would think like if a little kid knew what a naked body looked like, but it was just treated
You'd have like less psychological.
Yeah, you would be like, oh, okay, that's something I don't have to wonder about. It's something I don't really have to give a shit about. That's just what it is. I think that probably is healthier than over here where they're like, so uptight about it.
Yeah. On the whole, I think it might be healthier. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. It'd be healthier.
All right, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Yes. Inside the bizarre world of the orgasm cult. Behind closed doors, a so-called orgasm cult was even wilder and more bizarre than its reputation. Now former employees of One Taste are speaking out about the action of the group's communal properties in California. It was founded in 2004 by Nicole Diddling and focuses on the practice of what is called orgasmic meditation. One Taste claimed that orgasmic meditation improved women's sex lives and allowed them to reclaim their sexuality. Diddling even proclaimed it would be as popular as yoga someday. What it involves is a woman naked from the waist down and having her clitoris stroked by a man, either her partner or another customer. But there was a cost, mostly financial. Now One Taste is under investigation by the FBI over lurid allegations that include sex trafficking, prostitution, and violations of labor laws. The group has denied the charges. Former technology officer Chris Hubbard told the BBC podcast The Orgasm Cult that Diddling lured him into the company by having female followers turn him on and have sex with him. They needed somebody who had the kind of skills I had, he told the podcast. So Nicole would tell women, go get that guy, go get him all turned on and hot and bothered. We'll make sure he comes back. So suddenly there were 2 or 3 in my mind, absolutely stunningly gorgeous women who were articulate and smart and fun and delightful, wanting to have sex with me, Hubbard alleged. I didn't really earn that, but I'm not going to say no. There were a lot of women who wanted me to stroke them or OM with them, so I had my hands on a lot of pussy, and that's probably my favorite thing in the world. He revealed at their original San Francisco headquarters, there were king and queen size mattresses laying all over the place, and at its peak, One Touch employed 150 people across 9 cities, including San Francisco, New York, and London. In 2018, students coughed up $499 for a weekend course, $4,000 for a retreat, $12,000 for a spot in the coaching program, and $16,000 for intensives. An all-inclusive option cost $60,000. Classes featured dozens of women naked from the waist down, having their clitorises stroked. Another former employee named Willow said her favorite class was when the women, all undressed, spread their legs and revealed their genitalia to each other in the group. That's what really feels really empowering, and to know that what I look like is completely right and normal and beautiful, and that there are 10 other people in the room who are saying, yes, this is beautiful to me too, she said. As for Diddling, the founder, she was positively tremendously magnetic. She was Amazonian, the former employee said. She knew herself 1,000% and had this presence and self-awareness and self-acceptance and self-love that I don't think I'd ever witnessed in anyone. The former employee added she was kind of a god figure almost. The company has denied any wrongdoing. So women can run cults too.
Yeah.
Sex cults. And yeah, they can be the godlike figure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I mean,
Pretty crazy.
It doesn't seem that appealing to me because all you're doing is stroking clitoris. You know, like that's
Yeah, paying. I mean, if you can get paid for it, I understand.
yeah. But these people
It's good
were
work if you
paying.
can get it.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is paying $60,000?
Yeah. To just rub some clits and stuff. I mean, at that point, you could just have any woman you wanted for a weekend or whatever.
So wait, the guys are paying this big money just to rub women's clits?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Huh.
Yeah.
Students. Perverts.
They're supposed to be learning like the magic touch.
Yeah, basically, like how to make an girl orgasm.
Like this.
I guess.
It's all in the wrist.
I don't know if I can do this for 2 hours.
Wow. All right, what do you got in the...
This is just a short blurb, basically a headline, not a lot else, but a man named Adolph Hitler Unona won a local election in Namibia.
Adolf Hitler, what?
I'm not sure if it's pronouncing his last name right. It's like Unona,
You know, okay.
but yeah.
I mean,
where was that at?
So it's in Africa. It's a
Namibia.
local election.
There is some. So okay, in a lot of countries, like there's this weird thinking about Hitler. You know, like people don't get how bad it was.
Right. It's like it's not understood.
Yeah.
And like in I read Trevor Noah's book, and he had something very similar to this. And basically, that was he had a friend named Adolf, and he's like, yeah, we don't really, it's not thought of in that way. Like it's just like this was a powerful person who ruled, Germany for a while.
Yeah.
It's like it's not taught that it's like this horrible thing.
Did it say if this guy is white or black?
He's black.
So maybe his parents are like, we're gonna take that name back. Like we're gonna do what Adolf Hitler would hate is like a black guy with the name Adolf Hitler.
He said he thinks that like his dad didn't really appreciate the gravity of the name. But yeah, back to Trevor Noah. Like he had a friend named Adolf, and so he said they'd be like he'd DJ these parties and stuff, and his friend Adolf was this great dancer, so he'd be out there dancing, and he said they got booked for this party, and there's like a bunch of white people, and so they've got him dancing up there, and they're like, "Go Adolf, go Adolf," and like people are like very offended.
Hey, just for time's sake, and I want to make sure to get it in. Do you want to do that topic you were talking to us about yesterday?
Do I remember that topic? What were we talking about?
Well,
Movies you'd like to see made?
Yeah, movies that aren't made that we'd like to see made.
Yeah, we can do that one.
So did you have some?
I've got a couple, and some of them are a little obscure, and some of them I think you're going to know because we have some comic overlap. There's one fantasy story called Gormenghast, and I think it came out in like the 20s or 30s. But considering like the success of Lord of the Rings and like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, I think that might be a big one.
What is it, Gormenghast?
It's called Gormenghast. It's by a guy named Mervyn Peake. I believe he's English. But that one was really good. Stranger in a Strange Land, I think somebody could do a lot with that. I think it'd be a great one to do.
Can you, because I've definitely heard the title Strangers in a Strange Land, can you just give me like a brief synopsis of what it's about?
Right, so the breakdown is there was a mission to Mars with humans, but there's also like little green aliens or whatever. There's some alien race on Mars, and the crew on Earth, they think everybody died, but in fact, like one baby lived, and he was raised by aliens, so he doesn't really know human culture. Like he knows alien culture, he knows Mars culture, and at some point he comes back to Earth, and there's kind of like all this fish out of water, like he doesn't really understand it, so he's trying to learn about humans and all this, and it's got like all these kind of religious and science stuff tied up into it. But it's kind of a very interesting story, and he turns into like a kind of a Jesus figure.
For humans?
Yeah, and he teaches us a lot of stuff about Mars, and so it's just an interesting sci-fi. What about you guys? You got anything?
Watched that. Mine was already made. When I was a kid, I always imagined I want to see the movie Titanic.
Really?
Yeah, I want to see that ship break and stuff like that in real life.
I still haven't watched Titanic.
You haven't?
What? That can't be true.
I feel like I've seen parts of it, but I don't think I sat down and watched Titanic.
Oh.
Because I'm already afraid of the ocean and stuff. So,
Yeah,
just
the
the thought
ocean's
of the
terrifying.
Titanic scares the hell out of me. In the middle of the Atlantic, at night, cold water,
Yeah. Terrible
it's a
way to die.
nightmare. Yeah.
I haven't seen it in forever, but it was one of those because we rented it back in the VHS days, and it's one of those that couldn't fit on one tape, so it was like a
Double
2-tape.
decker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that was crazy. And you know what's crazy about it is I always thought DiCaprio should be in that movie. I was like, man, I like him on Growing Pains. He'd be a good actor in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. I said that.
Man,
Predicted that one.
do you have any future spoilers for us then?
I'm 0 for everything after that.
That was your one.
Now, are there any movies like that don't exist that you'd like to see that may be based on some other property you've consumed?
I'm just big into like space and stuff like that. So if somebody made movies out of like, Martians like you were talking
Right.
about or something like that, sci-fi always captures me. So I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think it would need some modification for the screen, but I did really like that story.
All right. Well, I have a number of ones. These are all based on comic books.
I know I've read some of your collection, so maybe I'll tie into some of these.
Okay. Well, my first one, I'm a big fan of crime noir, and like one of my favorite, maybe actually my favorite comic book writer, definitely up there, is Ed Brubaker. And so probably my favorite non-superhero comic book is a book called Criminal by Ed Brubaker. And basically it's just all these crime noir stories, and like you can basically read each volume on its own, but there is a little bit of crossover, like they happen in the same town with sometimes a character in one book will have a small cameo in another, and like some of them is the same city but like a different time.
Right.
And I know at one time the first book in the series was in some sort of stage of development, but then it must eventually not worked out because I haven't heard anything else. But what I would do if I were to adapt this property, I would actually take the first 3 books in the series and basically tell them all in one movie, because I think there are like slick ways you can transition from one story through the other and kind of tell all 3 stories,
Right.
Throughout one film. So that would be one I would like to see. My next one is there's a series. So there was a series of actually prose books written, I want to say like in the 60s and 70s, a series called Parker. They all were about this criminal named Parker.
That sounds familiar.
I think the pen name the guy used was Richard Stark.
Didn't they make that one Mel Gibson movie?
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
so the movie Payback with Mel Gibson is kind of an adaptation of one of them, and that movie is actually, it's not bad, but and there's another movie called Point Blank with Lee Marvin that's kind of also based on that same story, but I watched it. It's not very good. And then they've what's weird is the Mel Gibson movie, like for some sort of rights thing, they couldn't work out. His character was named Porter instead of Parker.
Yeah.
And then they finally did make a movie called Parker that has Jason Statham in it, but I didn't even bother watching it because it didn't get any good reviews.
Yeah.
But the reason I want this adaptation is there was a comic book artist and writer named Darwin Cook who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he adapted some of those novels into comic books, and they're really fucking good, especially the first 2. And like, I would love to see like a straight up adaptation of those stories. And like I said, the Mel Gibson movie kind of does it, but not not nearly as good as it could have. And like the story itself is set in the 60s, and like so there's like stuff they could do crime wise then that of course they wouldn't get away with now.
Right, yeah.
So there's like I would definitely want it to be a period piece set in the 60s, and man, go if anyone out there hasn't, read those Parker the Hunter and Parker the Outfit are the first 2 books in that series. They're fucking awesome.
I definitely do think I've read those, but it's been a long time.
They're great. Next series is also a crime. Now this one, first of all, I think this one will eventually get adapted because they have been, working on it forever. But this one, 100% should be a series. It shouldn't be a movie. 100 Bullets.
Yeah, that's on my list too. And yeah, you want to go over the premise?
Yeah, I mean, and this one's owned by DC, and so I'm sure it eventually will be like an HBO Max series. But yeah, basically the premise behind 100 Bullets is it starts out with there's all these stories where like this old guy named Agent Graves, guy in a suit, he comes to these people and he gives them a gun in an attaché case with 100 bullets, and basically he's like, you can kill whoever you want with these bullets. And basically as soon as they're recovered at the crime scene, like you don't get in any trouble,
Right, they're completely untraceable.
Yeah, they're
gone.
completely untraceable. You get away with this scot-free if you want to do it. And he also will give these people, he's like, here's incontrovertible evidence that this person did you wrong in some way.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not telling you what to do, but here's the gun, here's the bullets, you can do what you like.
And this is all like a big recruiting scheme.
Yeah, and so basically what you find out as this series goes along is these people all kind of have a shared past. And the story, kind of gets a little bigger, and you find out, what these people, what their link is essentially. And it's a really, really good series. I actually just reread it not too long ago, and it still holds up.
Even if it's not a movie, you should go read the comics. They're really good.
Really good. This next one, I don't know if they would ever do this one, but there's a comic book publisher called Valiant, and they first started publishing books like in I think the early 90s, and I wasn't even aware of them. And then back in 2011, 2012 maybe, they kind of relaunched, and they relaunched all these different series. And there's a lot of good ones, but there's a book called Rye, which is about, it takes place in the future, and basically Earth kind of went to shit, and Japan basically created this like floating city, and it's kind of policed by this this guy named Rye, who, basically is kind of this superpowered individual. But then he gets his orders basically from a, AI that runs the whole city. And what you find out is, like a lot of sci-fi, that AI is evil. And, it's basically ends up being him fighting, against that. And it's kind of a hard thing to explain to people. But that book, and that series, I think it's only about like 15 to 20 issues, written by a guy named Matt Kent. And it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Okay. This next one would probably also be a series. It could be a movie, but I'm thinking a series would be better. There's it's called Black Hammer, and it's basically, it is a superhero story, but I think this could even appeal to people who don't like superheroes.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different. Basically, the premise is there's all these, there's this group of superheroes, and they start out on this farm. They're in this little town. But what you find out as the story goes along is they used to all be in this city, and they got in a fight with this huge, like, Galactus-style being, and they were somehow transported to this farm. And you kind of find out that this farm, like, isn't what it seems. Like, there's some weird stuff going on. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But it's a very kind of humanistic take on superheroes. And like, for example, there's like this one character who's kind of like a reverse Shazam, where like she's actually this middle-aged woman, but when she says the Shazam thing, she turns into a superhero, but a little girl. And since she was that little girl in the fight before they get transported to this farm, like she's basically stuck there. So like she's this middle-aged woman stuck in the body of like a 9-year-old girl, basically. It's a great series. The next one, Black Science. This is a series by Rick Remender, and I guess the easiest way to describe it is it's kind of like, it kind of has Fantastic Four vibes, where basically it's this family that end up, the father's a scientist, and basically the family ends up getting sucked into this machine where they go through all these like weird like parallel realities. They don't have superpowers. But basically, the family is very fractured. Like the father was kind of a workaholic, and he had an affair, cheated on the wife, and so it's like it kind of has like a Fantastic Four vibe, but if their family was kind of a little more fucked up. So yeah, that's a really good series. Okay, this next one I don't think they would ever make into a movie, but it's a good example of why people should read comics, because there are things that are in comic book form that probably would never be made into a movie. But there's this guy named Mark Russell, and they had him do a couple. DC had him do these like books based on Hanna-Barbera characters. So he like did a Flintstones book.
I read a couple of the Flintstones. Yeah.
Yep. He also did a book around the character Snagglepuss.
I didn't see
called
that.
Exit Stage Left, and like it got good reviews, so I tried it, and it's actually really fucking good. But basically, he like imagine Snagglepuss is like this he's this gay playwright, but like in the back whenever like the McCarthy period was,
Okay.
and so like he has to hide that he's gay. Like he's got this woman that pretends to be his girlfriend, and like
He's got some work to do.
yeah, and like he has to go to like these McCarthy style hearings, and like it's a really like it's a premise that you like are just like, this seems so weird,
Yeah.
but it like
it works.
It totally works. It's
The Flintstones too. There was so much like political and social commentary, and it was pretty spot on. It was good.
yeah, that's a good series too. But I like the Snagglepuss one even better. This next one I could see being a movie or a series, but here's another thing. This is another thing that will probably never get made. Not that they couldn't do it, but there was a comic book series that came out, I want to say around 2008-9, called G.I. Joe Cobra. And
Yeah, G.I. Joe's not such a hot commodity right now, it feels like.
I know, but the cool thing about this series is it is basically imagining the G.I. Joes as if it were like an HBO series or something. It's like really dark and really fucked up. Like basically the premise is this Joe goes undercover and basically infiltrates Cobra, and Cobra is like really fucked up. And I can't recommend it enough. I think Mike Costa and Christos Gage, it was co-written by them. Great fucking series, but it's one of those things that they would probably never make, because like if you slap the word G.I. Joe on something, like parents kind of are like, oh, my kids can watch that, and not this one.
Yeah, well, you could maybe just come out with the title, but yeah, and also there were a number of like shitty G.I. Joe movies made. So.
Yeah, but man, everyone read that series. It's really good. And then the last one I have, another Ed Brubaker series called Velvet. Which is basically like a middle-aged female James Bond. Like basically the premise is kind of like she's kind of the take on the character Moneypenny from the James Bond series, but it imagines like she gets a little older, and then she is brought in something. These events bring her into the field being a spy. and it's really, really good. And I could actually see it being either a series or movie, either one. So yeah.
There's a couple I got on here. I know we both read. And another one that'd be really hard to make is called Chew.
Oh yeah.
Which the whole premise is like it's kind of like he's not like a superhero, but he has like some powers. But there's numerous people with like certain psychic abilities in the storyline. But his is if he eats something, he gets like psychic flashes off of it, or if he eats like a piece of a person, he'll gain their abilities. So like he eats some famous ball player's finger or something, and he gets special abilities. But he's a detective, so he'll go to crime scenes and like he'll have to eat something disgusting.
Yeah, it almost always ends in him having to eat
Right.
something disgusting. Like
There's one where he shows up and his boss is like trying to make him eat like a shit somebody left or something.
Oh.
so it's like it
We
has
always do that. We always bring up shit to you.
but it's like super like it's very surreal. I think you'd almost have to do it as a cartoon. But it could definitely be serialized, and it's definitely super funny and just crazy.
I mean, you could make it a live action series. There would be some challenges, but I think you could do it.
You ever heard of iZombie?
I saw that, but I don't think I watched any of it.
It's about this girl who like she'll eat their brains,
Right.
and she'll like kind of remember like what's been going on in their life. She gets some of their abilities and stuff. She'll become
Okay,
an
that's
artist or
in a
something.
similar wavelength.
And that's based on a comic as well. I've never read it or watched the show, but
Yeah. And the other one is Fables, which the thing is, like a few years back, there were a couple like TV series with similar premises, and they weren't very good. But basically, there's all these different like universes, and they're populated with like these different fairy story characters and stuff. But there's like a big war going on, and so they're all getting like chased out of their own dimensions and stuff, and they congregate in New York. And there's all this magic and fairy tales and just a ton of stuff, but it's really great. And I feel like some of those other shows kind of put a damper on it, even though I know that guy sold the rights to it to somebody. So
yeah, I never watched it, but Disney put out a show on ABC called Once Upon a Time that I think kind of ripped it off.
there was that one, and there was one other one too, and I forget. One of them was slightly better than the other one.
Yeah, I think there was one called Grimm as well.
Oh, yeah.
Grimm, yeah.
That was shot here in Portland.
Yeah, so I think those kind of put that one on the back burner, but it's really fantastic.
I think if they ever were to do
The first major story arc, and
there's a like part of it is like basically all the characters that can pass as human live in New York City, but then they have this farm in like upstate New York for like all the kind of more animal ones are the ones that cannot pass as human.
yeah.
And I think it'd be so cool if like they, animated those almost like an old style Walt Disney cartoon. And then
I would think almost the whole thing is a cartoon, but I mean,
I think it's a mix.
It's either that or it's like $1 billion of special effects.
I mean, I would love to see it like, the animated section of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, or like Mary Poppins, where like you have, the animated figures interacting with the live action figures, and it looks that way. I would love that.
Maybe I have trouble seeing it pulling it off, but it'd be a challenge no matter what.
It'd be a challenge for sure. But man, Fables is a great series, and it's really long too. So if you read volume 1, if you like it, you got a lot of goodness in store.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of others. Like if I cruise the racks, I'd be happy with. They could make 100 more Hellboys, and I'd be good. I just wish they didn't suck like that last one.
I didn't even bother watching.
The second one was great though.
Second one was great. Yeah,
The Golden Army?
Yeah,
Golden
I
Armies,
like
that was really good. So, moving on. How much time we got?
we can go a little bit longer. Boy, what do I got here? Oh, I was just wondering. So, like, there's been these stories going on where, like, they with these monoliths they're finding, or like they found one in Utah, and then there was one in Romania, and then I heard there was like one in California that some people like defiled, and like I imagine is this some sort of like, I mean, obviously it's some sort of like art thing that somebody's doing,
Right.
But do you think this is like, like one person going around doing this, or do you think they've communicated to people in like multiple areas?
Well, I'm wondering if it's just like people. Well, I know at least one case where it's commercial, but yeah, it could be like just random people like copycatting.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like
so like one person did it, and then the other people are like, "Oh, that's cool. We'll make a monolith
then
too."
they just make their own. Because I've got one here. There's a candy store owner in Pittsburgh. It's called Grandpa Joe's, and he commissioned one of these things and put it in front of his shop. So all these people were coming and taking selfies with it and buying candy. So he did a pretty smart business move, which I kind of like seeing art prostituted out for commercial reasons. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. It's a fun little like side note for this year, I guess.
All right, AJ, you got something else?
Just a little lighthearted topic. Squirrel gets drunk on fermented pear because acorns can't dull the pain. This squirrel appears to be drunk as a skunk. Katie Morlock said she fed a squirrel an old pear from her fridge, but realized later that the fruit had fermented into a boozy snack for the critter. Recent viral video shows the squirrel, which she named Lil Red, nearly keeling over after bellying up to the treat. Morlock thought she was leaving out a safe nibble for the squirrels, but Lil Red's apparent stupor and repeat business indicated otherwise.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah. And then it kind of dawned on me, oh no, those pears are so old, I bet they fermented. She told Fox 9, and then he got drunk, and I did not mean to do that, so I went out and grabbed all the pears. She recovered Little Red with a little hangover breakfast. No hair of the dog for this tipsy creature. HuffPo could not verify that the pear fermented and the squirrel got sauced, but it does seem that fruit can ferment on its own in the fridge in certain cases. In an article titled 4 Reasons Not to Feed Wildlife, the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust writes that it's okay to feed squirrels if you'd like, but do so from a feeder, never by hand. So yeah, it's a little drunk squirrel.
That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah. Lucky squirrel.
So in a Belgium retirement home, corona victims can now touch their family using what they're calling a hug bubble. So the hug bubble is basically this inflatable, it's like a small tunnel, and it's just plastic sheeting, and the patient walks down through the sleeve, and down at the end they have like the plastic sleeve so they can stick their arms out and hug people and stuff. And so
I knew it was going somewhere.
Here we go.
And there's one elderly woman who stated that after many years of curiosity, she finally knew what it felt like to be the cock custard in the tip of a condom. I hate when I laugh.
Man, once COVID's over, we should all try like a open mic stand up and just see how terrible we are.
That would be so bad.
Judging by the laughs in this room, I think I did pretty well.
Yeah, but if you were in front of a crowd and you started laughing like that before you hit the punchline, they would laugh.
Probably, yeah. It's hard not to laugh when someone's laughing. You guys managed it all right.
This isn't much of a topic, but did you guys hear that or read that Rudy Giuliani got COVID?
Oh yeah. That was one of my little side notes.
It was bound to happen.
He's on the streak, Giuliani.
Not only that, like I didn't actually watch the video and turn up the sound, but apparently like on Twitter, like I was scrolling, there's this video of him, like I don't know if he was testifying or what, but apparently like he audibly farted.
Oh, I saw that little clip.
Like the woman
like
was
he's
like
just sitting there talking and then like brap, and the woman fuck what?
I read an article that they say that COVID could potentially cause people permanent erectile dysfunction. So I hope this doesn't affect Rudy and his girthy erections.
Getting tricked by girls.
If you tell people that it's going to make them impotent, then like people probably line up for a freaking vaccine.
Or they would be wearing that fucking mask.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games until your dick falls off.
Wearing condoms too, just to be safe. Just around public.
My dick mask.
Don't breathe into it.
Don't blow dogs.
But yeah, that's all I got. I was just wondering if you guys saw that he got the old
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah,
I heard about it. It warmed my heart.
Man, I tell you, Rudy Giuliani, he's having a fucking year.
He's having some business, yeah. At least he's getting paid good money to defend Trump or whatever. So,
At least it's all been caught on national
what'd you say?
TV.
He's getting like 20 grand.
20
a week
grand
or
a
something?
week. He asked for that. Trump said they'll talk about it.
You better fucking get it on paper, buddy.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter also someone doctored up this book cover that was like a Rudy Giuliani memoir, and it titled it "Between the Dildo Store and the Crematorium."
That story of a life.
Yeah. That's where he found out that they lost the election.
All right, you got anything else for us?
That's all my topics.
I think we'll go off on top with the
Dildo store.
Well, we're doing pretty good on time. All right, guys. If you would, please give us a like, subscribe, comment. Man, we didn't get any crazy comments this week. I was hoping we'd at least get another,
rando.
Yeah, Alex Jones guy.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to start out with some sexism to piss somebody off, so we'll see if it works.
Try harder, man.
But yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Please give us a positive review. And guys, where can everybody find you on the Twitter?
I am a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that will do it for all of our shenanigans and stupidity this week. Please tune in again next week. Bye.
Take care,
All right,
guys.
have a good one.